The Texas Success Initiative Writing Test contains questions that measure proficiency in 4 content areas. Those content areas are as follows. Essay revision. Topics covered in this category include coherence, organization, and word choice, rhetorical effectiveness, and use of evidence. Agreement. Topics covered in this category include subject-verb agreement, pronoun agreement, verb tense. Sentence structure. Topics covered in this category include comma splices and run-on sentences, improper punctuation, fragments and parallelism, subordination, and coordination. Sentence logic. Topics covered in this category include correct placement of modifying phrases and clauses, the use of logical transitions. In addition to the multiple choice section of the writing test, which addresses the 4 content areas, most students will be asked to complete an essay section. If your scores on the multiple choice section were considerably low, the test may not ask you to attempt an essay, and you will be placed in the lowest level developmental course option. The essay section of the TSI writing test, also called the Right Placer, will require you to write a 5-paragraph persuasive essay, approximately 350 to 500 words, that demonstrates a clear focus, the logical development of ideas in well-organized paragraphs, and the use of appropriate language that advances the author's purpose. You will be expected to clearly state a main idea and provide specific examples and details to back up the main idea, as well as follow the conventions of standard English. For additional information on the Right Placer scoring rubric, please visit our TSI website and click on Additional Resources. You will now review some example multiple choice questions led by Dr. Douglas Krinke, faculty professor in the English department at Sam Houston.
In order to ensure success on the writing portion of this test, I think it's very necessary to read the directions carefully. And I would like to read these. I'm sampling questions from 6 through 10, and then I will choose questions 14 and 15 from another section. The questions for section 6 through 10 will read as follows. Select the best version of the underlined part of the sentence. If you think the original sentence is best, choose the first answer. I'm looking at question 7, and another way to be successful in terms of completing the test is look at the question, read it out to yourself. Question 7, in the Roman Empire, the first fish to be brought indoors was the sea barbel. It was kept under guest beds in small tanks made of marble. Now, what we're trying to do is choose the correct answer. If you will look at your choices, the correct answer will be B. The reason you would choose answer B, it avoids the comma splice of the original sentence by replacing the pronoun it with a relative pronoun which, thus making the second independent clause into a dependent clause. 2 independent clauses. The first fish to be brought indoors was the sea barbel, and it was kept under guest beds in small tanks made of marble, cannot be joined simply by a comma. The comma is a weak mark of punctuation in regards to connecting 2 main clauses. Choice C is incorrect because there is no contrast between the idea that the first fish to be brought indoors was the sea barbel and the fact that the sea barbel was kept under guest beds. Choice D results in awkward phrasing. The first fish to be brought indoors was the sea barbel and was kept under guest beds. Here you have what is called an excessive and construction. You overload your sentence. So once again, for question 7, the correct answer is B. Our second sentence to examine is sentence 8. The idea that lightning never strikes the same place twice is one of the oldest and most well-known weather-related myths. In fact, lightning strikes the Empire State Building in New York City about 100 times per year. Now, as you look at your choices, choice A is correct. It avoids the illogical phrasing of the other options by providing the phrase "in fact," which is used in this context to introduce evidence validating a previous statement. In fact is what we call a transitional phrase to suggest reinvigoration or reinforcement. And what it's going to do is link two main clauses. If we look again, the idea that lightning never strikes the same place twice is one of the oldest and most well-known weather-related myths. If we put a period, we have a complete thought. Our second construction, lightning strikes the Empire State Building in New York City about 100 times per year. That also is a complete thought. But we're connecting the construction with the transitional phrase. In fact, it is very important that you recognize the punctuation. In fact, as a transitional phrase, must be punctuated by a semicolon and a comma after it. As an explanation, options B, C, and D are grammatically correct, but they result in what is called illogical phrasing because they do not indicate the relationship specified by the information in the sentence. What we can say is, in sentence 8, if you were to select B, C, and D, the logic is flawed. As we look at the next section, sentences 11 through 15, again I impress upon you to always read the directions for your questions. This section reads, think about how you would rewrite the following sentences according to the directions given, and then choose the best answer. Keep in mind that your revision should not change the meaning of the original sentence. Let us read sentence 14. Carmen created a new piñata by constructing a papier-mâché figure and decorating it with brilliantly colored tissue paper. Now, the instructions read, rewrite beginning with "to create a new piñata." And then it continues, the next words will be. And as you look at your choices, choice A is correct. The sentence should be rewritten. To create a new piñata, Carmen constructed a papier-mâché figure and decorated it brilliantly with colored tissue paper. Choice A avoids the errors of the other options by providing the past tense verb constructed to serve as one of the two main verbs in the sentence. As you look at your other choices, each of the other options results in a sentence fragment with no main verb to carry out the action of the sentence. Hence, at all costs, avoid writing an incomplete sentence. An incomplete sentence is grammatically unsound. And our last example is sentence 15. And the sentence reads, if Antarctica's icebergs could be floated north before melting, many arid areas would experience relief from drought. Your instruction, rewrite beginning with, if they could be floated north before melting. As you look at your choices, choice C is correct. The sentence should be rewritten. If they could be floated north before melting, Antarctica's icebergs would bring many arid areas relief from drought. Choice C avoids the modification and pronoun mistakes of the other options by providing the appropriate subject. In other words, you do not want to have what is called misplaced modification. Choice A and D do not clearly establish that they refers to Antarctica's icebergs, and choice B illogically implies that many arid areas could be floated north before melting. In other words, in sentence 15, there is not a clearly defined subject if you were going to choose either D, A, or B. C is your correct choice.
This concludes the writing portion of the TSI pre-assessment activity.